Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cosmic Wizard Show, the astrology show for astrology nerds by astrology nerds, aka yours truly, Rhea Larmont. And tonight I'm here with you to discuss the January full moon. And let's get into it. We're going to hop into some chart work. And here we go. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so here is the chart for the full moon. Now we've got the moon right here, and it's right beside, you should be able to see with my little red cursor here, it's right beside Mars, conjunct. And during the course of the night of the full moon, the moon will actually pass entirely over Mars. It's like a little Mars eclipse, as it were. Now, standard is that when Mars is retrograde, right? Mars is the planet of action, of forward motion, of momentum, of determination, of getting her done. And so when Mars is retrograde, it can feel like things are suddenly moving a little slowly, if you know what I mean. One sort of nice thing is that Mars has now retrograded back into Gemini. Now, to set this all up, I'm going to tell you sort of my take on the whole process that happens here. And I'm actually going to hop it back, if you don't mind, a little bit of a tangent, into Taurus. And in this, I'm just talking about basic energies, the story arc, the process that we're going through in any given sign. Also, disclaimer, when I'm speaking of these signs, I'm speaking about the actual constellations in the actual sky. The astrology that we use here on the Cosmic Wizard Show matches the placement and size of the constellations in the sky. So with that over, let's hop into Taurus just to set up our talk about Gemini and Cancer here. In the arc of Taurus, what we're looking at is a process of self-sustainability. It is an internal process of getting to a place where we can look at ourselves in the mirror and know that the person looking back at us loves us and has us covered, right? Stories of survival are in Taurus. Literally, there's lots of food things that can come up in Taurus. Notably, you'll find some interesting like eating disorders and stuff like that come up in Taurus. Taurus is a story arc of learning to have like true self-love, a lot of self-sufficiency. If we look at the cow, it's actually a very incredible creature. It can haul large loads. It can provide us with meat. It can provide us with milk. There's a reason why in some cultures, cows are revered. They are symbols of absolute abundance. And the truth of the matter, the little truth of life that hides as a seed in Taurus, is that we're actually in the Garden of Eden. And when we take care of Mother Earth, she will take care of us. She provides for us everything that we actually need. And we have the capability within ourselves to take care of everything that we need too. Taurus rules. Taurus and Venus, by extension, sort of, rules values, and it rules actual possessions. And it also, it's a journey of being able to rely on yourself, it's quite boundaried. It's quite not really selfish, but it's a very like internal process, right? And I say that just to set us up to talk about Gemini, which Mars is moving into right now. So we go from the very internal process of Taurus, and then we start to think, oh, hey, maybe there is more out in this world, right? There's more going on. And we begin to look outwards, and Gemini rules siblings and the neighborhood and short-term travel, short trips, that sort of thing. And I always see Gemini very much as the space where our imagination takes hold and where we need to allow our imagination to guide us to find new things. We start to learn about ourselves through the eyes of other people for the first time in this zodiacal cycle. We start to learn about the world through our interactions through other people, right? It's the twin, it's the mirror, it's yes, I see it very, very much as this process of letting our curiosity guide us and being able to see that there's actually like multiple sides of things, right? This sort of twin aspect. You can look at things from one way and then look at it from another way, and it's something else entirely, right? So then we go through this period of exploration where we're learning new things and we're trying things out, and it's very experiential. And then we come to the sign of Cancer, where whew, we've experienced all of this stuff. We've gone on all these adventures. We've inputted a sheerly large amount of new information and facts into our brain. And in Cancer, we gotta slow down, spend some time at home, spend some time cultivating this sense of safety and integrating all of the information that we've just received into the system so we can decide what actually has meaning, what's worth keeping, what are we going to throw out, all of this, right? So Mars has gone all the way through Gemini, went ducked its way into Cancer. We're starting to integrate, and now boo, 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 retrograde back into Gemini. We're reevaluating the ideas a little bit. It might feel like we can't quite get the forward traction that we're looking for, which may in and of itself be heightened when the moon passes over it. I'm not totally sure how the mechanics of this work. I'm thinking of it a little bit as like an eclipsed Mars, right? And if Mars is eclipsed, then perhaps it's even less powerful, and it's already somewhat less powerful because it's moving retrograde, right? I'm pontificating here a little bit. I don't know for sure, but something to think about, right? We may be feeling like we can't quite get the forward traction that we're looking for. So we need to go back and reevaluate the ideas a little bit. Are we following the path that lights up our curiosity, that makes us excited, that makes us want to get out of bed in the morning, for the sheer joy of learning more? That's how I like to think about Gemini. We love to learn and experience the world like through the mind in a lot of ways, very communicative. And so this can be a time to really um, maybe stop doing so much, stop being worried about doing so much, and just having fun in the experimentation of it and making sure that the path that we're on is in a direction that makes us curious. Curious is a huge keyword that I personally use for Gemini. Across the way, right, we've got, and this moon itself, it's going to of cross the cusp of Gemini back into Cancer, while Mars is moving back into Gemini, right? So it's this sort of push pull of like sampling different ideas. And also, like, what are we going to do with that? Do we need rest? Have we been, it's that sort of tightrope edge of how do we actually integrate these ideas that we're taking in? And as we move through this week, right, we've got the sun in Sagittarius. So Sagittarius is very like connected to truth, connected to, I always get a very like, and this is bias because I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, right? But for me, Sagittarius season comes in the darkest part of the year for me personally. So I always think of it very much as like being a light in the darkness kind of quality. Now, the sun is going to light up anything it touches. And as this week continues, it's going to conjunct Pluto in the early stars of Capricorn. This is interesting because, according to tropical astrology, Pluto is entering Aquarius. According to the actual sky, it really has just begun to enter Capricorn. And what this really means is that a lot of big systems that happen that like hold our world together are up for evolution over the coming years. So this is going to be really interesting. It might not be Capricorn is a very stable sign, but Pluto is kind of anything but. It's going to sweep through and bring death to anything that is at that like old evolutionary point where that's what needs to happen. Now, as the sun comes in and crosses over Pluto, this could highlight perhaps systemic inequality, perhaps ways in which the authorities don't necessarily actually have our best interest in mind, just illuminating secrets around authority, around government, all of this sort of stuff. And on an interpersonal level, things can just get a little crunchy, right? If the sun's coming and illuminating Pluto. And one thing I'll say about Pluto, right? Pluto is Hades. He is the lord of the underworld. I think that overall, in my personal opinion, Pluto, well, not just my personal opinion. uh, there are traditions that would agree with me, namely the evolutionary astrology tradition, but Pluto does essentially want our forward evolution for the good. And Pluto is very, very impersonal and doesn't really care like what needs to be destroyed in order to get us there. It's a little Buckley's, the medicine works, but it don't taste good going down necessarily, right? And Pluto can bring up it rules the subconscious, right? It rules the taboo. It can bring up things that we have sort of abandoned in the shadows, potentially repressed, potentially just like left there and been like, I'll deal with you later. These sorts of issues could be coming up as the moon reflects its light on Pluto, and the sun is also going to be passing right over, lighting that up. So it could bring up some sort of crunchy feelings. Just trust that anything that is coming up at this time is something that is ready to be seen, healed, released, right? An apology, or not an apology, a forgiveness goes a long way. Sometimes that's what's standing between like us and the other side of that door is forgiving. You don't even necessarily have to speak to someone or invite them into your life in order to forgive them. You can still forgive them. You can still choose to let go of the part that is still like has a hold on you inside, right? And sometimes it's ourself that need that forgiveness. That's a message that's come up while I've been doing horoscopes today. But yeah, the other thing to keep in mind with Pluto is that it rules basically every single form of wealth on Earth as we know it, except for maybe the like little pixels that count as money. But Pluto has rulership of absolutely everything underground, which includes gold, oil, minerals, diamonds, whatever it is that we use for batteries. That's the real sort of next form of wealth, isn't it? And so there is a point to this story. If you can go into the depths and face your fears and shine a light on those sort of hidden unconscious forces and integrate them back into yourself, right? Because it's got this opposition here to Mars in Capricorn or Mars in Cancer. We're integrating this information back into ourselves and deciding what it is that it means for us. If we can integrate these things that we keep in the shadows instead of holding them apart from ourselves in shame or disgust or anything that keeps these parts of ourselves locked away from ourselves, shine a light on it instead. Let's shine a light. And when we can do that, we will find our deepest power. We will find our absolutely abundant treasure of wealth. Anyways, I think that's all that I'm going to say on this tonight. Have an excellent evening, day, Wherever you're watching this, have an excellent full moon, and I wish that this speaks only the highest good into your life. Have an excellent evening. I'm going to stop sharing and say goodbye.